Welcome and thank you for joining me here on Absolute Trust Talk, which is another live video version of our podcast here at Absolute Trust Counsel. I'm Kirsten Howe, your host, and my guest today is Dana Wilson with Keller Williams Realty. And Dana and I are going to be talking about some of the challenges and issues that we adult children face when it's starting to look like maybe mom and dad need to move out of their home, because it could be any one of a number of reasons. They can't take care of the home anymore. It's too big. It has too many stairs. They need to move to live near family, or they just need more support. They need to live in an environment that gives them more assistance. Whatever the reason is, it's time. And the adult children are the ones who end up having to deal with that issue many times. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. Dana, my lovely guest, Dana Wilson is a seniors real estate specialist with Keller Williams Realty East Bay. And frankly, I'm having her on the show because she's different. At some point in many seniors' lives, there comes a time when the family home becomes an emotional, financial, or physical, or all of the above burden. And while simplifying by downsizing or right sizing might seem like the good solution, if you've ever tried to do that, you know that simplifying can be complicated. And Dana and her team, they just provide soup to nuts, comprehensive transition services for this demographic. They can handle anything that comes up in this whole moving process, which saves the older family members and their children a whole lot of aggravation and stress. She understands that moving isn't just about moving furniture. Now I'm going to tell you a few more things about Dana, and then I'm going to let her actually open her mouth and start speaking. Dana is a perennial top producer here in Walnut Creek and in Contra Costa County. She has been a 5-star real estate professional 9 years in a row, every year for the last 9 years, including this most recent year. And I'm telling you, she knows what she's doing. And the thing about Dana that really caused me to want to have her come and talk about this is, we all have a job and we do our job, and that's great, and we get satisfaction from our job. But Dana really has a passion for what she does. And we talked about this before, that, you know, she can sell a house, she can buy a house, she can help anybody, and she does all day long. But when she's dealing with seniors, that is really where her heart is. And I know that, not just because she told me, but she's always doing all kinds of things. She puts on these monthly seminars. We used to do them at the Lafayette Library. Now she does them on Zoom, but it's all about education. And she's just trying to educate her senior community, tell them things they need to know, they should know, that she wants them to know. And it isn't about real estate. It isn't about selling real estate. Sometimes we're not really talking about real estate. And she brings her other professionals in, and I've been at a couple of these seminars. It comes out of her passion for helping seniors, and you're going to see that shining through when we're talking. So now she's embarrassed because I'm going on too long. I want now to welcome my friend Dana Wilson. Thank you, Dana, for being here. We're so lucky to have a little bit of your time today.
What an introduction. Good grief. That is so sweet. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. And yes, I do get all worked up about this because I love this subject, because it is what I do and what I love to do. And I know you've got some specific questions for me today.
Yes, and I know you have the answers. Okay, so let's just start kind of at the beginning. I think that we're talking about the issues that the adult children are facing, and in the hopes that by educating them, maybe they'll avoid some of these mistakes or issues. And I think that probably one of your top mistakes that you see is the same mistake that I would say is the top mistake we see in our law firm. We could call it procrastination, just waiting too long. waiting too long to deal with this problem. And so maybe we can talk about when is the right time to start having these conversations with your parents, and how do you go about that?
That's a really good question. And it does start here because, you know, those of us that have, and I'm talking to you, the adult child today, which is me as well, and all of my friends. Some of us are the lucky ones, and we have parents that have contingency plans in place. They're in writing. They've shared their plans and the costs involved and the advisors they want to be part of that plan. They've shared that with their kids, but those are the minority. We might as well just be real here. Yes. I would say the vast majority of parents are very uncomfortable, and I'm going to include the adult children. It's an uncomfortable discussion, and I think a lot of the parents are, they rather not talk about the fact that they're aging and that there may come a time when they can't care for themselves. And I think the kids really, you know, we come from different places. Some of us feel we're very respectful of our parents, and we don't want to bring something up that's going to upset them. You know, it's very emotionally charged. But I will say that if you don't have the discussion, crisis-driven decisions and moves are always less optimal, and you end up having less options. So the time to answer your question of when to have this conversation is NOW.
It's just that simple. Yeah.
Just now.
Yeah,
just
don't
do it now.
Don't wait until somebody falls and they're in the hospital getting discharged. And now what's the plan? Yeah.
Exactly. But it's easy for you and I to say, oh, go have the discussion now. That's the easy part. But I'm going to give a few little tips for the adult children on kind of how to start this. So maybe it's not as uncomfortable. So here we go. I think before you even open your mouth and start talking to your parents, try to consider what is important to them in their life right now. And there's two things that are of most importance. And I'm going to refer to a book by Dr. David Soley called How to Say It to Seniors. The things that he says are most important to older parents are losing control in a world where all control is being lost, and leaving a legacy in a world where time is running short. So if you really think about that, that can really help you kind of tee up your discussion with your parents.
Yeah, I mean, I think giving up control is huge. That's a huge fear that my
independence, your autonomy. Yeah. You don't want to be reliant on somebody else. I mean, you and I don't, right?
No, I can't even imagine. No. Yeah.
So, Kirsten, if you're going to talk to your mama, here's what I would say. First of all, I'm going to suggest you listen. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. So we're going to listen, and we're going to start planting seeds in regards to housing related issues. And listen for their likes and dislikes. Don't come at it from what your needs are. We want to know what makes them happy, what they would like to have happen.
Well, and I like how you said plant seeds.
Yeah.
So you don't come in, you know, with a hammer and bam, now we're going to talk about all these issues. No, you just sprinkle some seeds.
And let it germinate, let it, you know, water it from time to time. But proceed as their partner, not their parent. That's a biggie, don't you think?
Yeah.
And, you know, explore options. So it doesn't mean that you as the adult child can't be doing some due diligence on the side. You can be doing some homework. You can go visit some communities.
You can do research. Yeah.
You can do some research, because then when mom or dad are ready to talk, you might have some solutions to discuss with them, right? I think part of this whole scenario of the what if conversation is being patient. I don't have a lot of patience sometimes with my own mama. You know, I have plenty of patience with clients.
It's much easier to have patience with your clients. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's what I might suggest. Maybe you start off by saying, Dad, you know, we're noticing that you don't use a big percentage of the big old house we all grew up in. And have you ever thought about down the road, maybe looking at something smaller? I mean, you know, that's not in your face. Or Mom, you know, my girlfriend's kind of been snooping around and looking for potential senior communities because her mom's really kind of isolated and living by herself and getting kind of lonely. So she's looked at a couple places. Do you know anyone living in a senior community? Have you ever been to any of them? I'm just curious. You know, stay in curiosity.
Yeah, I think that also what you said about treat them like a partner, not I'm now the parent and you're the child. Yeah. I would say that goes hand in hand with don't wait until it's too late to have the conversation, because there will come a time in many of our parents' lives when we have no choice but to treat them like a child. You know,
there may come a time. Yeah. I mean, not everyone gets dementia.
No, not at all. But if you get to that point, yeah, you can't do it respectfully the way you would like to, treating them like a partner. Right. Now you really kind of have to take control. So So now,
now let's start having those conversations now.
Yeah.
How about that? All right. So there you go. There's my high level answer to that.
Very nice. I like that. Well, so, you know, I mean, we all hear this term aging in place, and you can talk about whatever that might mean. I'm just generally speaking, I think probably 95% of everyone would like to stay in their own home, whatever that is. So, and you probably see that a lot too. Everyone wants to age in place, but what things does a family need to take into consideration when they're trying to accomplish that?
Well, you are right. I think there's a ton of different studies that have been done, and 80 to 90, depending on who did the study, of folks asked want to stay put. They say they're going to stay put. Aging in place is this politically correct term that people in social services use, but they're staying put. They're not going anywhere.
Right.
So there are things that the adult child can help with. And this goes far beyond grab bars and ramps, and chairlifts, because I think there are other things that we need to take into consideration if we're really in the position to be supporting our parents as they age, to help them age successfully. And this is beyond, Mom lives in a one-story home, she's fine. We've got grab bars in all the rooms. Or, Dad's living in Rossmore, he'll be just great. No. So other than
that's not enough. Yeah.
No. You've got to take into consideration the nutritional, emotional, social aspects of aging. And I mean, I was telling you earlier that I have seen this firsthand with clients, with coaching families, even on a Meals on Wheels route in Rossmore, where this poor little lady had, we were delivering her meal for the day, and it just happened to be a sandwich that day. It was a sandwich, an apple, a cookie, and something else. She not only was going to have half of that sandwich for her one and only meal that day, she was going to save the other half for the one and only meal the next day. She had dropped multiple prescription canisters all over the kitchen floor and was scooping up the pills and just putting them in random canisters. And I looked at her, and I don't know why, but my thoughts went to, I bet her kids think she's doing just great.
Yeah, because she's in Rossmore and she's signed up for Meals on Wheels.
Yeah, and she's got everything 55 covered. Plus. Yeah, everything's A-okay, and we're feeling good about it. And I'm going to caution you that there's a lot more to it. So a lot of us need to consider, do you need to kind of remodel maybe or renovate the house if they do tend to want to stay in place? Or by the way, those same studies say, and I hate to say this, but we're being real here today, right?
Right.
That about 70% of the people that intend to stay put end up finding that it's not feasible to do so.
Yeah.
There's the clincher. So do we want to look at something called universal design concepts, where that takes into account things like widening doors, no step showers, non-skid surfaces, it's lighting, it's levered handles, it's even adjustable. You can make some cabinetry adjustable so that anyone at any ability, wheelchair, walker, can utilize the home in comfort and safety. We don't want people getting up on a step ladder or a stool or standing on a chair to try to get their favorite whatever up in the
their Cocoa Krispies. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, another thing is transportation.
Yeah.
Where does that come into? So that has to do with mobility support, figuring out the transportation. There's also the village concept. You've heard of that, right?
Sure. Yeah. So I think what you're saying is really whether they're going to stay in the home that they've lived in forever, or they recognize that that's not workable, we're going to move to this new place. You need to keep all these other aspects in mind. It's not just about do we have grab bars and is somebody delivering food? There's so many more aspects to it.
Yeah. And then, we won't go into all of them, but there's the villages, there's social supports, there's technology, and different systems and tools that you can be using for monitoring even medication usage, movement in a room. It's not that you're spying on your mom and dad. It's literally staying connected, in connection, in community together.
Right. Yeah.
And then we're not even going to go down here, but I know you and I have talked about also the fact that, okay, this all sounds fine and dandy. You can get online and start looking at universal design concepts and design features, but some of them can be quite pricey.
Right.
So how do you pay for that if they are house rich and cash poor? And maybe a discussion maybe at another time, and I know you had one recently on a reverse mortgage program is one option. So, that's probably not for today, but there are ways that we can help as trusted advisors talk about the different options on how to afford some of these things.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is a question that I think is just, personally interesting to me. And as an estate planning attorney who helps a lot of adult children settle out estates after parents die, a lot of people in the demographic that we're talking about, older people, have been living in their homes for a lot of years and have accumulated a lot of stuff. And what kind of guidance can you give to our adult children audience about how to deal with all of that?
Oh boy, I've got a really good answer for you. Adult children, do not try to do this by yourself.
Yeah.
Don't even go there. I know you, in some cases you want to. I know maybe your mom wants you to help her and she's sort of expecting you take your next 2 weeks vacation and come and hang out with her and go through every drawer and closet together. And maybe that is what you end up doing. But I will say that most of us adult children, we're working, we're busy. And I think people get stuck in this place right here, having to deal with this stuff, right? So
do you see that kind of holds them back from doing the big picture thing they really should do?
Yeah, because this is even almost a bigger deal than it's equal to, let's find where mom and our dad are going to move to next. If they do want to move, maybe they're in that minority where they're being proactive and they do want to move, or now they need to move. So getting them their next home all set up, place that they're going to be happy and healthy, and having them move first, but still we've got 50 years of stuff.
Right.
What are we going to do? And so I think it comes down to some major roadblocks are the packing, the sorting, what is dad bringing with him? And then what are we going to do with all the stuff left behind that dad didn't want, that we don't want?
Right.
Right. And we won't even go into the whole discussion of, and we get really real with people, your kids don't want your stuff. And it's not worth what you think it is. And even the consignment and the donation companies have gotten very, very picky.
Yeah.
Or they're overflowing themselves with things.
Yeah. It's hard to donate stuff anymore.
It really is. So managing this liquidation process, I think this is why I would suggest that after you've talked to Kirsten, you call your seniors real estate specialist realtor first, and I'll tell you why. It's not just a shameless plug, by the way. But part of what we do is we have a very extensive little black book of experts that we can rely on, such as yourself, other professional advisors, financial advisors, CPAs, and the like, as well as the service providers, the vendors, like organizers, like move managers, like movers, cleaners, packers. I mean, there's a whole vast sea of help out there. And this is really not the time, I'm going to suggest, where you're going to choose the cheapest bid. You really aren't, because you want to then understand, what are you paying for? What do their services include? Are they charging by the hour, by the project, by the number of people on the project? I've got a list of questions that my clients can ask when they're hiring professionals like this.
Yeah.
And you know, some of this is always ask for something in writing first. You're never going to sign anything or agree to anything unless you've seen it in writing and you understand what you're paying for. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely.
So, you know, and can I tell a quick little story?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I love your stories.
Okay. So these cutest couple, 92-year-old ex-CPA and his bride, who was only 89. And Barbara, and they had me come over and they said, well, we have been referred to you by a couple other people, and we want to hire you. So we're ready to move forward, but it's going to take us about 4, 5, 6 months to get rid of our stuff. Anyway, what we did is we brought in a move manager, and it was really a beautiful thing. They had 2 daughters. One lived locally, literally about a mile away, but was too busy with soccer
Kids, yeah,
bringing kids back and forth and working. The daughter that had the time lived in Las Vegas. So it wasn't that they had bad family dynamics or, you know, negative things going on. It's just it's busy, 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 right? But so this move manager was able to come in and listen to the stories about the things and kind of let Barbara say an emotional goodbye to some of the things and the memories associated with them. And there's even things that we can help them out with, like, you know, taking pictures and making a scrapbook or just things like that, right? This is another 2-hour discussion with you someday.
Right.
But, you know, so she had that time. The move manager had the time, was willing to listen to the stories told over and over again about why this was so important and how she'd inherited it from her grandmother. And you can see, so this is part of the, not just physical, but the emotional letting go.
Right. And I'm guessing they got the job done in less than 5 months.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So I think part of our, what we had negotiated with them is we actually gave them two days of move management.
Oh, you just threw that into your arrangement with them.
It's part of the value added, and it got them so far along that by then all Barbara had to do was go through and put little green stickies on just the things that you wanted to
She
bring
really
home.
wanted, yeah.
It was done in less than a week.
That's brilliant. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah.
And she felt good about it. See, that's what's the most important. She
Right.
felt good about it. So of course her husband, Don, felt good about it. The girls, the adult daughters felt good about it. So it was not a rushed, it wasn't rushed. It was just done correctly and
Right.
effectively.
Right.
Does that help?
Yeah, no, I love that story. And I think that that little incentive is, here, Dana, I'm going to pay for this move manager 2 days. Let's get this done. And that's brilliant. So
Yeah.
you just have so many resources. You're very clever, very well connected. We know that. Why don't you, just before I let you go, and I need to let you go because I can't impose on your time too much longer, but tell us a little bit about your how you became credentialed the way that you are. That's interesting.
Oh boy. Well, gosh, I don't know. I mean, we can go back as far as I was super connected with both sets of grandparents, and then I spent a lot of time working. I worked in the skilled nursing home. I worked it out the Bates. This was just for fun, for volunteerism. When I dipped my toe into residential real estate coming from securities, I realized early on that I really loved working with boomers and betters, right? They're me and my, grandparents, basically. And so I earned the Seniors Real Estate Specialist designation. That's from the National Association of Realtors. And then I went through pretty intense training and coaching through a group called the Seniors Real Estate Institute out of Oklahoma. And we had to create focus groups and write a paper and take classes and be interviewed. And it was pretty intense, but I think that is what has equipped me to do so much more than, let's say, your average agent. And it's part of sort of the whole consultative process that I want to hold people's hand and work them through the whole from A to Z, helping them as much or as little as they need. And I think, again, having that kind of team-oriented approach, the collaborative ability to work with the family members and the other advisors, and paying attention to the physical and the emotional aspects of the move, I think has helped people get through this in more of a overjoyed as opposed to an overwhelmed manner.
I like that. That's a nice comparison. Yeah. Okay, so I want to make sure that our listeners know how to get a hold of you.
Oh, great.
And take advantage of your expertise, which is vast.
Great.
So Dana, her web address is day-real estate. That's day-realestate.com, because Dana is spelled Dayna. You can see behind her. And then you can always email Dana directly. So Dana at day-realestate.com. And you can call her, 925-788-6582. She's always there, always available. She's more than happy to help. And I know she answers questions. She does what she has to do to help you, even if now turns out not to be the time that you're going to sell your house.
Mm-hmm.
Just take advantage of her. She's an unbelievable resource.
Well, and to end with what you started with, Kirsten, is if we leave people with anything, if we leave these adult children with anything, plan ahead, right?
That is my mantra, and yours too, right?
Yeah.
Just don't wait, plan ahead.
Right.
It's so much better.
Yeah, never too early to start talking about the plan.
All right. Well, thank you, Dana. Thank you for being
here.
here.
What a pleasure.
Yeah, and we're going to have you back, because I know there's a whole lot more to this than what we were able to cover. There's a lot more mistakes that we adult children need to be taught about, and we will do that. So, and thank you all for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed that. This will be available as a podcast episode. It's a video on our website, absolutetrustcounsel.com. And we have all kinds of other resources on our website. And thank you for being here. I look forward to connecting with you next time.